What's going on, Geminites? It's your boy Gem Mint, and we are here with the crowdfunding king himself, Mr. Ethan Van Sciver. What's going on?
Hey, it is totally awesome to be here. Nothing's going on. Absolutely nothing today. It's a very dull weekend. I'm hoping you'll liven it up for me.
I think it's going to be really live. I mean, we got a lot of people in the chat kind of tailgating, waiting on us. So shout out to everybody that's been hanging out backstage. And yeah, this was like a last minute thing. What happened was I was doing a live stream and I decided to kind of start taking little cuts out of the live and do its own video, kind of like Joe Rogan style, you know? So something came up about you and I posted it and you must have got wind of it somehow. What, did somebody send you the link or something?
Yeah, that's what my Twitter's for. I mean, people just send me everything about me. So I saw it and I was like, oh, it's me and Rob Liefeld. This ought to be good. So it was very nice. And I just said, yeah, I would love to come on your channel and be interviewed and hang out, you know, so.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like I was telling you backstage, I'm like the worst when it comes to like asking people to come on. So when you commented that, I was like, man, let's make it happen. And it must have been a dull weekend because you were like, yo, let's do it tonight, right?
I have nothing else. I mean, it's either this or we're talking about comics and Me Too again. So, you know, it's like, let's do something a little bit lighter, a little bit more fun and a little bit more comic based. And I see you've got like all of those Green Lantern, Jeff Johns omnibuses stacked up. Is that 1 through 3?
That's 1 through 3. So you obviously played a big role in that story, right? How was that working with Jeff Johns on that Green Lantern run?
It was so fun, man. It was really fun. Every time, you know, Jeff wanted to do something, it turned out to be, you know, you just say yes. Jeff says, I want to do the Morlocks over at Marvel. And you say yes. You say whatever you say, Jeff, you know, because he always had a great idea. Jeff was a lot like, Jeff was like the captain of the football team. You know, like he was good at getting you excited and motivated to do absolutely anything and then to turn in your best performance. And there aren't too many people like that in comics, I don't think. I think Scott Snyder is probably like that, you know, but most, it seems like everybody is just sort of hanging on by their fingernails. Jeff had self-confidence. Whenever we you know, approached a project, it was like we were two prize fighters ready to knock someone the F out. So Green Lantern was just like, this is ours. We're taking this over. I don't care what people really did before. We're going to make appropriate changes to make people excited about it again.
Yeah, I mean, it's arguably the best DC cosmic story of all time. And what he has to explain to you, like, we're going to do this emotional spectrum of color. We're going to bring back all these dead heroes and make them Black Lanterns, right? Like that conversation has got to be, let's do it, right? Like.
So, yeah, like that was, Jeff had this idea, like he had this idea that the Guardians were keeping a deep, dark secret about, you know, Blackest Night. Like Blackest Night was actually going to be something. It wasn't just part of the oath. It was an event that was prophesized and would take place. And what was it? What was it going to be? So one night I called Jeff Johns at like 3 in the morning because I didn't know a lot about Green Lantern. We had just done Green Lantern Rebirth, and I learned through Green Lantern Rebirth that Guy Gardner used to wear a yellow ring. Sinestro used to wear a green ring. You know, Sinestro now has a yellow ring. And I'd say, Jeff, how many yellow rings are there in the universe? Like, why are there just 2? Are there just 3? Like what? And he said, I don't really know. And I said, why? It's like, why wouldn't there be a lot of Yellow Lantern rings? Why wouldn't, you know, Sinestro start his own, you know, political force to oppose the Green Lanterns? And then Jeff came back with Sinestro Corps War, and I got to draw the opening salvo of that. Got nominated for an Eisner, but lost it. Did not win that Eisner. Yeah, I did. But in any case, I started to think, you know, if yellow is next, it's weird that yellow and green, they keep interchanging. Sinestro's a Green Lantern, then he's a Yellow Lantern. You know, it's like Guy Gardner. And I said, it's almost like yellow and green are kind of converged together a little bit. And if you look at the rainbow, which we all do often, you'll see the green and yellow are right next to each other, blending together. And I called Jeff and I said, Jeff, you can say this is stupid if you want to, but and I was always like afraid to tell him ideas because I was afraid he was just going to, like, getting shut down by Jeff is really like sad and demoralizing. But I said, why wouldn't there be blue lanterns? Why wouldn't there be red lanterns, orange lanterns? Why don't we do the entire spectrum, because if green is kind of this middle of the road motivation, it's just willpower. The other side is fear. That's a different motivation. The opposite of fear is hope. That should be the blue lanterns. And we build out overnight. We build out, the entire emotional spectrum. And then he said, we got to do black lanterns, and they're going to be dead DC superheroes, and that's Blackest Night. So that's going to be the next event that we do after Sinestro Corps.
So it's not so much that he gave you the idea of the spectrum. It sounds like that was you with the idea.
That's right.
Damn. Hey, before I don't want to miss these super chats. Shout out to Economics and Comics with the $2. Appreciate that. Saying hell EVS. We got Couch Doodles in the mix. Big love to EVS and the chat. Fragaboom. That's your boy Fragaboom, right?
That's Dan Fraga. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there was another one. I might have missed it. Oh, here it goes. Unruly Simeon. That's my guy. Agree with Ethan. Disagree. Who cares? The man can draw. So my big thing on the channel has always been to big up the hobby. Like, I love comics. I love the characters. I love the artwork. I love the storytelling. And I love your work, man. The first time I heard of Ethan Van Sciver was right here. I saw this cover and I was like, holy shit, who drew that? And really? Unfortunately, it was one of those like expensive ass variants, right?
Yeah.
That's and then I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, the weird thing about variant covers is DC has absolutely, and Marvel too, have swamped the shelves with variant covers that are worth absolutely nothing. I mean, that's one of the big problems with the industry right now. Mm-hmm. This one is actually worth something, and it was just it's just a random variant cover, but this variant cover is very hard to get. It's in demand. It's worth $100 or so.
Yeah.
I don't have one.
Somebody get Ethan a damn Green Lantern 9 variant. And then this one, man, I think a lot of people think this was a Jim Lee variant, but this was you were doing these variants for the Batman New 52.
Yeah, I don't like that one very much, but the colors are hideous. First of all, I mean, they're terrible. Look at that. Gem, that is an embarrassment. Okay, I'm not going to run down the colors too much, but
hey, everyone's their own worst critic.
Well, I
didn't color it though.
Somebody else did. I'm running down somebody else on your show, but I will tell you this: those two guys that are being attacked. There's one guy that you can't see his face. Those two guys were my personal trainers at the time, they got me in shape. They actually got me in shape, and they're no longer. They were in North Carolina. They're no longer in my life, Gem.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Part of the problem,
So for those that don't know, I mean, I have some of my viewers, maybe a lot of statue collectors, might not know Ethan Van Sciver. So Ethan Van Sciver, what is it, 26-year veteran in the comic industry? What's the whole spiel you always give? Trusted member of the what now?
Yeah. It's ComicArtistsPro Secrets. That's the name of my channel. I'm Ethan Van Sciver, 27-year veteran of the comic book industry, world's most charming, elegant, eloquent, and yet humble man. You want to emphasize humility. That's important. Great big Star Wars fan and trusted member of the media. And why wouldn't I be the trusted member of the media? I've been right about everything on my channel. All my predictions turn out to be true. Every single one of them, even the ones people don't want to be true, turn out to be correct. And that's what 27 years in the comic book industry will do for you.
So you're in the comic book industry. You do work for Marvel. You do work for DC. Amazing work, coming up with great concepts. Then you leave. You end up doing your own thing.
Yeah. So in 2017, 18, I became a member of the group called ComicsGate, the very controversial and unfairly maligned group called ComicsGate, which is basically just a group that criticizes the way consumers are being treated in the comic book industry by professionals, publishers, and others. We just think that the consumer practices have been, poor. Customers are being treated.
When you say that, are you referring to like artists or writers going on Twitter and kind of attacking the fan base?
Yeah, we could get into it. I think that at some point comics became evil political, basically people worked their way into comics and decided to use the comic book industry as a platform to espouse their own radical ideologies rather than to just entertain. We're no longer telling cool superhero stories with the emphasis on pleasing everyone and making everyone feel included. It seems like we are actively siding with one side of the political aisle. And if you disagree with that, we have professionals who are telling customers, don't buy my books.
Right.
I think this has been devastating, absolutely devastating to the entire comic book industry. And we're seeing sales decline. We're seeing people just kind of feel like maybe this hobby, which I spent 30 years of my life invested in, is no longer for me. ComicSgate is kind of doing the opposite of that now. We have, a pack that it's customers first in content, meaning the books do not make anyone feel left out or feel excluded or feel demonized. Content, word, the way we talk to our customers, we treat them with respect and deed. So we want to make sure that we're delivering our comics to people on time, in great condition, et cetera, et cetera. And this has resulted in an incredible boom in the crowdfunding comic book industry.
So let's look at that real quick. So let me see. I have your campaign up here, and I called you the king of crowd sharing. So this was your CYBERFROG 2 Wrecked Planet. Do I have the screen up?
That's it. Yeah.
So you crowdfunded almost $1 million.
We'll get there.
So this one didn't break the record, but you're going for the million. What's the record on crowdfunding through Indiegogo or Kickstarter?
You're looking at it. That is the biggest. This is the biggest crowdfunded comic book in a single campaign of all time.
That's insane.
Yeah, I want to get to $1 million, and we will. And all of this. The way to do this is to simply speak to your customers with respect, create a cool character that makes people feel included and not excluded. Keep politics, keep religion, keep divisive ideology out of your comics. And just focus on being entertaining.
So let's speak on that. And you mentioned something earlier. You said what's the word I'm looking for? Because you said evil politics. So it's not that ComicSgate doesn't want politics in their comics, because politics has been a part of comics since the 60s. Would you agree that X-Men and the whole Stan Lee always feared? What's the X-Men thing? Always feared. They have some kind of credo.
I don't know. I love the X-Men, but I don't know what you're referring to.
What somebody will say it in the comments.
Yeah, I think that the problem is that the politics in comics have never been so important, such a bludgeon, and they've never favored one side before. They've never been so radical. I mean, it's easy to read "God loves, man kills" and just be like, "Look, this is the X-Men as an anti-racist, anti-racism, analogy," and that's great. I mean, people should not be racist, but it's another thing to feel as though if you voted the wrong way,
right,
in these people's eyes, supervillains in comics are going to take the form of the president of the United States and point you out specifically as somebody who is evil or stupid. Or perhaps even a Nazi. And the Nazi word got thrown around quite a bit. I started getting called a Nazi in the comic book industry, and I thought that was grossly unfair.
Right.
Because I'm not a Nazi. Right.
Like, I'm Jewish. Like, my grandfather is a Holocaust survivor. So Nazis are people that tried to commit genocide against an entire race, not people who create comic books. I mean, there's a big difference here.
Well, not Republicans. I would just say that, it used to be that there was Green Lantern, Green Arrow, a book written by Denny O'Neil. Sure. During the heyday of the Vietnam War, when politics were, the opposing generations were having a big conversation about conservatism versus liberalism. You'd see it in sitcoms like All in the Family, where Archie Bunker was kind of this stodgy conservative and his kids were hippie Democrats. That was what was going on in the world. And Denny O'Neil did his best to show both sides of that argument, with Green Arrow being a Democrat and Hal Jordan being a Republican.
Right.
And I thought that was good. I mean, you could read that, and I read that and I go, as a Republican myself, I read that and go, Green Arrow is nuts. Hal Jordan is clearly correct in this situation. And other people read it and say, Green Arrow is right. He's and that's perfect. That's the way politics and comics should be. They should be ambiguous. You should be able to read about these characters. You should read Batman and think that Batman represents you, no matter who you are. And that's something that a good writer can do. It's a very subtle trick to make everyone feel included and to be able to relate to and aspire to be every single superhero. That's gone out the window. Now it is agenda. It's full-time agenda in the comic book industry. And you're either on board or you feel excluded and you feel like you are disliked by your favorite comic book creators. And I find that to be intolerable. I find that to be poor business.
Right.
And something that I oppose and will oppose my entire life as somebody who wants to make a living in comics and make people happy with my stories.
So I would like to think I'm someone that I'm about my business before anything. So it seems like a very bad business practice to say, if you voted for this guy, don't buy my product. I want everybody to buy my product. I don't care if you voted for the independent guy that nobody even knew was on the ballot. Like that shouldn't matter in business to me.
Of course. And as we say, Crest Toothpaste sells toothpaste to people on death row. They don't care. They just want you to buy their toothpaste.
Ethan, let's hit some of these super chats. Eddie Winkler hit $5. GemMint and EVS. This is like Reese's made with peanut butter cup. I'm glad you like the combo. Then you got the Great Renzine. This is one of your guys. $3. 4-time Honeycomb box backer.
Thank you.
Some love. We got Fenrir Fire, $1.50. Sent a super sticker. StreamYard doesn't show the stickers still, right? What's up with that?
I don't know.
We got Andrew Sabina, $5. Going through my old comic collection recently, found EVS's Plastic Man art in JLA Secret Files 2.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a pinup. I did a lot of Plastic Man work.
Plastic Man's got a big following.
Yeah, I love Plastic Man.
All right, so what else is going? So you got the crowdfunding thing. You're killing it on there, and I see that there's a lot of crowdfunders now. I saw you had Billy Tucci on the show the other day. I was on his show, I think last week, and they're crowdfunding. They're doing their own thing.
Yeah.
The new wave.
It is the future. It's the future because here's the thing that I realized. I loved my time at DC Comics. I didn't love my time at Marvel Comics, but I did love my time at DC Comics, and I got a lot out of my time there. But I walked away from DC Comics with nothing. It barely paid my bills while I was there. I was paid very well, but it still wasn't. It wasn't what I think. If I had spent time on my own stuff, I would have been paid. Really, the truth of the matter is that all of these creators are being exploited. Not to sound too left wing, let me try to whip that around a little bit. Go into business for yourself. Take care of yourself. Stop working for big corporations. Stop spending your entire life being manipulated by the idea that it would be fun to write Spider-Man. And then 40 years later, they no longer have use for you at Marvel Comics, and you realize that you don't own anything that you did.
Aren't these the same things like Jack Kirby would fight for? And this kind of led to the Image Comics with Todd McFarlane in them.
Yeah, I think Image Comics had the right idea, back then. Whereas Todd McFarlane said, "Look, we're selling 8 million copies of Spider-Man, and I'm receiving 4% of the money. It's ridiculous." And frankly, if I go into business for myself with Spawn, and let's say that I sell 200,000 copies of Spawn #1, but receive 100% of the profits, I'm probably better off, and I own my own character.
Well, that's the whole 50% of a watermelon is better than 100% of a grape thing. Actually, it's a little bit on the other side of that. But anyway.
Yeah, So I think that's true. But beyond that, you own your own IP. So ComicSgate encourages people to come over and work as a network. You come over with your IP. You use the hashtag ComicSgate so we know who you are. And then we have a YouTube network of different shows, different creators that you can go on and promote your comic book. And we have people doing very well. 6 figures is becoming more and more common in Comicsgate campaign, 6-figure earnings. When you're doing that, you only need to do 2 books a year in order to do better than you would be doing at Marvel or DC.
Yeah, the whole crowdfunding thing, it reminds me a lot of like the music business, right? Like everybody wanted to be on the big label. They wanted to be signed to Def Jam. But then when they realized we could just sell it ourselves, we make the content, we can sell it ourselves and we'll make more money, even though maybe you're not moving the same volume. And I noticed like a lot of stuff with you with the hip hop element. Like I hear you got the NWA Hello in the beginning of your videos. I see you use like rap quotes to reply to people sometimes. Are you a big hip hop head, or is that just
No, I absolutely love like the early 90s. I love gangster rap. I really did. Like NWA, I love Ice Cube, I love Snoop, I love Dre, I love all that stuff. It's a big part of it. And also it's kind of ironic because I'm an old white guy. I hate to break it to you. I look like Santa Claus. So it is very strange and kind of funny that, my opener is I started this gangsta shit.
Right.
That is, I don't know. It's a chuckle. But yeah, I love that. So I love hip hop.
Yeah, man, you guys are like the No Limit Records of this comic book industry, man. I guess the only thing is like you can't play with the cool characters that got you into the hobby, right? Like, okay, Marvel owns them, DC owns them. You got to come up with your own IP. And yours is CYBERFROG. Now, that's something that you had before even you started with Marvel and DC, right?
Yeah. That was the character that I created when I was a kid. I decided I wanted to be a comic book artist. I needed to practice drawing pages. And I thought the best thing to do would be to make my own character up that was a combination of all of the stuff that I loved in comics and then do all my practice pages starring this character. That way, eventually, I could publish them. I didn't think I was going to go from 0 to DC Comics, in a year like I did with CYBERFROG. CYBERFROG, oh yeah, there he is. CYBERFROG, I drew that book for about 3 years and then eventually found my way over to DC Comics. And
you almost had like a toy line going and everything back in the 90s, right? Like around the TMNT craze and all that.
Yeah. So Surge Enterprises, the firm that actually made the Turtles into the Turtles got in touch with me and said, "Hey man, we're good with things from the pond, so we want to represent CYBERFROG." And I said, "Great." And they did. They got me a toy deal with Playmates Toys. They got me an animation deal with Mainframe Animation, which was Dan DiDio. That was when he was working there. So I went and met Dan DiDio. He said, we love CYBERFROG around here. We're really excited about CYBERFROG. And I had a TV deal with Fox Kids. So it was all going to come together. And Surge Enterprises was great. But then all of a sudden, the Japanese contingent of Playmates Toys came in and fired everybody in Los Angeles and just cleaned house. And so because the toy deal was no longer in place, the animation deal and the TV deal fell through. And I guess that's typical. But we're doing it ourselves now.
Right. That's what I was going to say. That must have been devastating. But then here we go years later. You go through the majors. You realize that's not for you. And then you put out CYBERFROG. The comic's doing $1 million. You got your own things going here. What is this now? This is an action figure or is it a statue?
Yeah. This is going to be, this is the prototype of the action figure. But of course, it's much bigger. They're going to shrink it down to Marvel Legends size. But here's the thing: with crowdfunding, we can do this ourselves.
Right.
We can put out an entire toy line, by ourselves, which is what we're going to do. I've hired the best sculptors. I have sculptors that have worked with Sideshow and DC Direct. In fact, I've hired a bunch of the people formerly from DC Direct when DC was in New York City to come and manage the CYBERFROG toy line for me and the statues as well.
And that's what Ryan Blue Thunder is saying here with the super chat. He said, "Let's see a Prime 1 or XM Studio style quarter scale CYBERFROGgy statue someday."
We're doing it. Yeah.
Are you familiar with those guys? Those big statue companies?
Yeah. I mean, look, we're working with the best of the best. We're going to be doing all of that. We're going to be making incredible statues. CYBERFROG's big brother, Salamandroid. This is going to be this is to the scale of the statue. There's going to be a one quarter scale. Is a quarter scale statue.
Right. That's what this one is, like 1/4 quarter scale.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing Salamandroid too in 1/4 scale. And Salamandroid,
I like his design. He looks cool.
He's a big dude. So we're going all out with this. Todd McFarlane is one of my heroes.
I was going to ask you about Todd. So yeah, so he's one of your heroes. Why? Because he kind of did the same thing. He left. He did his own thing. Huge. That's got to be the most household name indie character. Spawn.
Yeah, Todd McFarlane. One of the reasons why I admire him is Todd did his own thing. He always did his own thing. And if you were there, during the late 80s and early 90s, Todd was despised by his peers, much like I am. They didn't like him. They always wanted to debate him, to show that he was a knucklehead, to show that he didn't have talent. And Todd always won. I mean, Todd early on decided that one of the things that he wanted to do was, instead of hovering around New York City like these other guys did, this attitude that you got to stay in New York City and show your face at the office in order to get work. Todd said, I'm moving to Vancouver. I'm moving across the entire country. And if you want me, you know where to find me. And immediately after getting Spider-Man and getting everything he wanted from Marvel, he walked away and he did his own thing. And he took his money, he took his fortune. I think he realized that comics were a bubble, and he decided to make his own toys. I admire him tremendously. This guy never gave a damn what anybody else thought of him. Yeah. Always did his own thing and always succeeded, where his haters failed. So where's Peter David today? What's Peter David doing? Peter David challenged him to a debate and said this guy's an idiot, and wanted to take Todd McFarlane down a peg. Todd McFarlane shows up to the debate dressed like a chicken. Where is Peter David today? Nowhere. Where's Todd McFarlane? Everywhere. Todd McFarlane's a hero.
Todd McFarlane just killed it with his campaign on the Spawn action figures.
Love it.
Yeah, I love to see people win too, especially like him, like yourself. You guys took a chance, you did your own thing, and you guys are killing it, man. That's such an inspiration for people who want to be self-employed, or people who want to be creative and make money, whether it's in this hobby or it's not. Let me see what we got in the comments. I love Peter David's Hulk. Yeah, I mean,
I did too.
That's like the Hulk run. So let me ask. I know you're a big fan of Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
So is that what got you into comics as a kid? Like, was it the FF comics or
what got me into comics initially? Would be the Superman movie in 1978. And that's when I realized I love superheroes and Superman's my hero. And I was very young. I mean, I was only 3 years old, but I was being given comics. I mostly used them with silly putty. I mean, I didn't know how to read comics, but I love them. And I saw the Super Friends on TV. Basically, DC superheroes just became a part of my life. And I bought Star Wars and Ghost Rider comics all the time through the early 80s. But 1986 was the first time I remember sitting down and reading a comic book. And it was John Byrne's Man of Steel #1. And because I was such a Superman fan, and the cover just really, took my breath away. I thought it was excellent. Read it, loved it. And then suddenly dropped DC Comics entirely when I bought Fantastic Four versus the X-Men. Chris Claremont, John Bogdanove, Terry Austin in the coolest story. And even to this day, I've never read a better Fantastic Four story. And I've read everything Fantastic Four. I've never read a better Fantastic Four story than Chris Claremont's notion that, Franklin Richards is having terrible nightmares in which his father kills his entire family, and turns out he is Dr. Doom. And these nightmares, these prescient nightmares, come from the fact that Sue Richards, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm find Reed Richards' college diary. And in that college diary shows that Reed Richards planned the accident. He shaped the rocket to be able to harness those cosmic rays. He lied to his family and friends to make them become superheroes. And for Johnny Storm, that's cool, Ben. Ben's pissed, throws him up against the wall, slams him against the wall. He splatters like silly, great artwork throughout. Just this great, dark, emotional story where Reed is like, I don't remember. It's like, is this true? I don't remember. And it is a fantastic story. Absolutely fantastic. Hooked me on the Fantastic Four, hooked me on the X-Men. And then I needed to know everything about Marvel Comics from there. And that's all I read. I was a Marvel zombie all through the late 80s and early 90s. And then I got into girls.
That's what I always tell people, the same thing. When I was preteen, I was into comics. The teen years, I couldn't give a shit about comics. And then after I became an adult and, you
go back.
You go back, right? Exactly. Right. And you have money to buy all the stuff you couldn't afford as a kid. And that's where all this comes from, That's actually kind of similar to what Chip Zdarsky did with the current FF X-Men. I don't think you don't really read new comics anymore. I saw one of your videos, and it's hard to be a fan now. Now you're the competitor. You want to beat them. You don't want to support them, or maybe not support them, but you're doing you, and you don't really have time to watch what other people are doing.
I disapprove of what's going on in mainstream comics. I disapprove of it. I don't want to support them. I still tell people to read comics. I mean, I do live streams. I've got 1,500 people to watch, and people kind of look to me, and a few of them say things like, are we just not supposed to read Marvel and DC anymore?
What do we do?
Yeah, it's like, no, read what you like. The idea is to embrace comics and reward the people who are making you happy.
Right.
Vote with your wallet at all times. If you are enjoying Chip Zdarsky and what he's doing on Fantastic Four, give him your money. Give him your money. That's the way that it should be. But I personally, I am not going to support the mainstream. I am going to devote all of my time and energy to supporting independent creators who have broken away from the mainstream, who want something of their own, and who kind of subscribe to my philosophy of customers first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, it's just so hard because you grow up with these characters and you love these characters. And yeah, sure, sometimes there's runs that, well, that really sucked, or I hate the artwork in that. But you kind of, I've always been one that followed the character. Okay, maybe I didn't like so-and-so's Wolverine, but I really liked when he was on Uncanny X-Force, and that's dope. You know what I mean? But
I follow creators. I'm more of a creator guy. If Brian Boland is going to do something, I'm going to buy it. That's the thing. And he's not going to do anything, so I'm not going to buy it. The guy barely does any work anymore. But I follow people that I like because I'm more interested. I'm not as interested in the characters anymore because characters that are being mishandled. There's nothing more horrible than reading Batman, and Batman is cucked at the altar and Catwoman doesn't show up, and he's just too focused on love, and he's too selfish. He's too self-involved. That is not Batman. That is the writer. That's not Batman. A lot of these writers kind of they project themselves onto the characters. And it's just not good. I think you're supposed to kind of say, what is Batman? Who is Batman? I can't relate to Batman personally because Batman is a one-man army. He's somebody who's completely driven to fight crime. Bruce Wayne is a facade he puts on to justify his wealth. But ultimately, he wants to be Batman full-time, and he is out to fight crime and end crime in Gotham City. Right. This man does not have time to moon over Selena Kyle. He just doesn't have that time.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that. You cannot bring... a lot of people say, I want to bring myself to these characters. No, don't do that. Bring that character to you, not the other way around. And I always tell this story. I always talk about how men are different from women in the sense of how they play and how they use their imaginations. Lego did a study in 2012 that was absolutely fascinating. They were trying to figure out why girls don't like Legos, why girls don't play with Legos and boys do. And it turned out that they got 1,200 boys and 1,200 girls into a room, and they gave them all the Legos, and they wanted to see exactly how they played with them. Boys got a little Batman figurine. One of the first things they noticed, they got a Batman figurine, and suddenly the little boy became Batman. He's like, I'm Batman, and he starts behaving like Batman. When a little girl got the toy, Batman became the little girl. The little girl was like, oh, it's Batman. But no, Batman is behaving like she's behaving.
I see.
She projects herself onto the character. So I think it's this is the difference between writing a successful imagining, projecting the character onto yourself and trying to imagine what that character would be like, rather than to fill the character with your own personal foibles. We saw that happen a lot in the early 90s. where a lot of these writers, you got Ron Mars, he's got Kyle Rayner whining about women in a coffee shop. That's what you do. That's not what a superhero does. And that's, I think that's, detrimental to comics and superhero storytelling.
Let's see. That's a good point. Brian Blevitz with the $5 super chat. Great guest, Gem. Ethan, would you still do Plastic Man today if asked?
No.
I don't think Ethan would ever do any IP that's not his own if asked.
That's right. I mean, I love Plastic Man.
Yeah.
DC saved it for me for a long time. There were no Plastic Man comics for 10 years because I kept saying, I'm going to do it. And then when I wanted to do it, DC would offer me something really good that would be like, okay, I'm going to do this instead. I'll do Plastic Man later. Dan DiDio called me on the phone. I'll never forget this during DC Rebirth. And he said, I'm going to ask you something. And, you can say yes or no. And I said, okay, what? He said, Gail Simone turned in a Plastic Man pitch. And I said, let her do it. I'm like, let Gail do Plastic Man. It's okay. So Gail took over Plastic Man. Gail broke Plastic Man's dry spell. Did a Plastic Man story.
So he ran it by you because that was your guy.
Yeah. Dan DiDio always said, because I had a great pitch. I was like Plastic Man's this kind of like Irish mobster with a dark sense of humor. And there's this whole thing about is he Plastic Man in order to empower himself as a mobster, or is he a mobster in order to inform the FBI as a hero? As Plastic Man, you never really know who he is. Is he a good guy or a bad guy? DC loved this, but never got around to doing it.
I just want to show some love to Doom Notrin. He sent the super chat before the show started. I don't think I've ever seen that. Appreciate that, brother. So Ethan, man, you're crowdfunding these comics, right? So they get published, they get shipped out directly to the customers. So what is that going to do for the local comic shops? Obviously you're thinking that they're going to be out of here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean,
it sucks though, man. Like, you know what my thing is? I grew up in the 90s. In the 90s, there was a comic shop on every corner. It was the best place in the world. You go in there, you got trading cards and hard cases that are worth or charging $20, but whatever. But now, they're dwindling, and with the crowdfunding and the ship directly to consumer, is it just an obsolete business practice to have a brick and mortar comic shop?
I think we're seeing that all around. I think that is the case. It's very hard to keep a brick and mortar store in business when the internet is available. I mean, from my perspective, I buy back issues. I'm collecting the entire run of Fantastic Four. I've got 5 through 50 right now in like minty condition. I mean, beautiful. So I'm shopping for Fantastic Four number 4, right? How many brick and mortar stores am I going to go to before I find one that is in the condition and the price that is okay with me? It's just not practical. I go on eBay, I go to all of the internet stores, and I shop for comics that way. Now, what we're seeing here in the comic book industry is we are seeing Diamond. This is going to happen. I mean, I know people are upset about this, but this is going to happen. Diamond is not going to be able to stay open, not having lost 30% of its business with DC Comics going away.
Right.
We're going to see what happens to comic shops post-COVID. There are 1,900 Diamond accounts that are open right now. I know because I had the entire list leaked to me, so I know who's spending what. These stores, if we drop down to 1,500, the whole industry goes kablooey. If 400 shops close down because of COVID or for any reason, the industry is not sustainable. Period. Even with a healthy Diamond, Diamond without DC Comics is not sustainable. AT&T right now doesn't even want to publish DC Comics anymore.
Right. There's all this speculation on whether they're going to even continue to publish comics, or are they just going to license the characters for other things like action figures, TV shows, movies.
Yeah, that's all going to happen. AT&T is probably going to cut their publishing arm loose. They just cut their video game arm loose, and that Warner Video Games actually make money, and they just ended that because
they want to sell it to like either EA Games or what's the other one, Activision.
Yeah, they're cutting the fat. All AT&T wants to do is they merged with Time Warner to open up a Netflix style streaming service to compete. There's no money in television advertising anymore. The world is changing. The world's just changing around us. People want point and click service on the internet. They want things shipped to their house.
Right.
People don't want to get in their car. They don't want to go to a comic book store. They don't want to hope that the books that they have are there. People are going to the comic book store right now and buying new comics that insult them for their politics. This is just not a sustainable model. I don't think it's going to last. And it makes me feel awful because I have friends who have local comic shops, who are retailers. They hate when I say this, but the writing's on the wall. The comic book industry is going to change big time in the next year or year and a half.
So my dream was always to own a comic book shop. I just used to think, like, what would be better than walking into a comic book store, working there all day and making money? But when I started to really look into it a couple years ago, I was like, this seems like a terrible idea. It's like you're a slave to this company, this Diamond Distribution. The margins are terrible. If you don't sell all the books, you're left with all this.
They're unreturnable.
Right.
It's so, I mean, in every single way, like the comic book industry is exploitative. It is irresponsible. It is a grift. We use that word grift now.
I'm looking at the chat here. Oh, hold on. That's okay. So like Taylor Strickland, I love going to my LCS, and I think there are a couple of them that are doing it right. I want to give a shout out to like Torpedo Comics in Vegas or Tate's Comics in Lauderdale, Florida. But they're not like just your little shop that you walk in and there's new comics. They have walls of books. They have statues. They have other things. And they're more like a superstore than a little brick and mortar mom and pop. Like those guys are going to have a hard time, especially if weekly comics are their main source of income. You got to be selling everything in that store.
Yeah. And, comic books companies themselves are keeping their margins, in line by just filling the shelves with just #1 issues, with variant after variant after variant cover that nobody asked for, that are not based on sales. The whole thing is just kind of it's rocky. And yeah, there are people in the chat who are like, I love going. I know you guys do. You're like, you guys are the hardcore fans that love going to comic book stores, and you always will. But things are changing. You're becoming more and more rare. More and more people would rather just have a bigger choice, a wider selection, and not leave their house. And COVID is really kind of bringing that home. Like, I'm doing more mail order or more, over the internet ordering and having things delivered to my house than ever before. It's fantastic. I really like it.
Big shout out to Economic and Comics with the $2 super chat. The world is turning into WALL-E. I never caught that movie, WALL-E, that Disney movie. And shout out to Zach Miles becoming a member of the channel. Thank you. Appreciate that. And I think, did we have one more? No, we're good. All right. So, man, lost my train of thought. Anyway, if anyone has questions for Ethan Van Sciver, 27-year veteran of the comic book industry, drop them in the chat below. I don't want to take too much of his time up, although I know that this is your thing, and
I love this. This is great.
It's so cool that you found a way to interact with your customers on a I don't want to say intimate basis, but it is like a one-on-one. You feel like people know you. Like you start seeing names. I'm sure there's names that you see in your chat that you're like, I know that guy. I see that name all the time.
We're a big family, and that's how to treat your customers. I mean, look, I have CYBERFROG 2 has almost 8,000 backers on it. That's a large enough audience and customer base to make me very wealthy, and it's small enough for me to know them personally. And I think that's the future. I think that's the way things should be for the comic book industry.
Right? Yeah. 7,800 backers on this wrecked planet.
Yeah, I mean that's again, and the great thing about that also is 7,800. That's 7,800 shipments that I can do that in a month. That's small enough. It's big enough to make me nearly $1 million, and it's small enough for me to deal with personally and interact with every one of those customers and ship those packages myself.
Do you have anything that's ongoing? Is there any open campaigns right now?
So that one and CyberFrog Unforgettable Tales is open right now. Those are 2 reprints, color reprints of my very first 2 comics, which I was supposed to be paid $500 for them, and I was not. I was stiffed. So now we made almost $200,000 on those comics I drew when I was 19.
That's crazy. It's funny how the way things work sometimes. You know, I catch your show and I catch a couple of you guys, your boy Zach or Young Rippa. I catch you guys. I like to always see what's going on in the world, and I read and I review weekly comic books. I read everything, you know, so I always like to keep an open mind on both sides. Now, I noticed since comic books have been back, which hasn't really been back, but something that Zach said was when you break people's habits, it's going to be hard to get them back. And I noticed that. I noticed that with the views on the new comic book day reviews. I was doing, not to toot my own horn, but the most viewed new comic book day review video on YouTube. And now since we've been back, I mean, it still is, but it's not what it was before we broke everyone's habits and the economy or people out of a job. So that's something that he said that I was like, unfortunately, he was right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, comic collecting is an addiction. Going to comic book stores is an addiction, and you can break addictions by just going cold turkey.
That's kind of, is that what when you mentioned having a personal trainer? I've been up and down on the weight scale myself, and it's all about breaking habits, man. You try to break those habits of eating those foods or whatever, or going to the gym.
I'm not breaking nothing. I'm getting fat, and I love it. It's crazy.
Who's this? Planninegoodtimes $2 super chat. Appreciate that. He says, "Say hi, Comicsgate."
He wants you to say hi, Comicsgate.
Oh, hi, Comicsgate. I know we got a lot of Comicsgate people in the chat, man. I can see we got 500 strong. Shout out to Cumberbatch, Pepperpot, $5 holler. He said, "Hi, Gemmin. Thanks for having EVS on. Can you ask him about his CyberFrog figure that he's developing?" He might have missed it, but you showed us a little glimpse of the prototype.
There's something else to that. I mean, you know, look, this is the big action figure and a statue that I'm making. But, you know, our campaign was so successful that every single backer of CyberFrog at the $25 level is going to also receive a bonus CyberFrog PVC toy. That's fully painted. It's pretty big. It's going to be like carded and bubble, you know, like a Hot Wheel toy. And I'm making those right now. I'm actually getting into making CyberFrog toys of all kinds. So we're doing that. We're making a Salamandroid PVC, and then we're going right on to the action figures.
That's what's up. Got Economics and Comics. One more again, $2. All I know is I love watching EVS detail his work. Yeah, your art is dope, man. And that's to me what it's all about first, right? Like you are a talented artist. Your Green Lantern art is amazing. The CyberFrog art, I'm dope. I haven't read CyberFrog, man. I got to get a copy of that. And what I like about CyberFrog though is that it's an indie book, but it's a superhero, for lack of a better term. A lot of these indie books are always like situational, right? It's always like post-apocalyptic. It's characters that are just regular humans, regular people, and it's kind of like it takes you out of that superhero comic book fantasy that you're used to, you know?
Yeah, I gotta say, CyberFrog is, to me, a good superhero story. Introduces our hero, shows his limitations, and then puts him up against indescribable odds. And that's what CyberFrog is. CyberFrog was a mistake. An alien race sent a living robot spacecraft to Earth with an unborn fetus in it. It's kind of like a Superman story. And that unformed fetus, it was twins actually, was supposed to merge with two human beings and create Cyberman, which was meant to fight off this oncoming invasion of gigantic, parasitic, evil wasps called the Vespis.
There they go, right?
Yeah, there they are. So, unfortunately, the spacecraft landed somewhere where there were no people, and the fetal masses interacted with a frog and a salamander and became CyberFrog and Salamandroid. They are feared and hated by humanity. And when the Vespis come in 1998, August 17th, 1998, Bill Clinton's giving his apology speech for, yeah, I did lie to you about Monica Lewinsky. And then the Vespis hit. And CyberFrog and Salamandroid panic. It's like they've been waiting for this, but they panic and they fail. And the entire planet is taken over, destroyed. CyberFrog is almost killed, thrown into hibernation for 20 years. And he wakes up in the year 2018 to a world that has been devastated by the Vespis. There are maybe 2% of humanity has survived, and they're hiding in the woods. His best friend, Heather Swain, is hiding in the woods now. He finds her and now begins CyberFrog 2 Wreck Planet, the slow process of trying to take back the planet. These
premise, man, I got to check it out.
I hope you like it.
Josh Cortez, $2 super chat says, I'm assuming he's talking to you. You're not the goat, you're the frog. And then hold on, we had a good one by one of our members here. Thanks. Hold on, where is it? Yeah, Zach Miles. He's asking, what does EVS think about manga? I hear a lot of ComicGate guys saying that they don't even read comics; they're into manga because manga kind of does what comics were doing years ago.
I salute it. I'm in awe of manga, but I don't read it myself. It looks cool, but I haven't been sold on it. Like I'm not addicted to it yet.
So I was never a manga guy either. But
as
a statue collector, I got into the Berserk series, and Berserk, I absolutely loved it. I read all the volumes. Sometimes manga, you have volumes like this. I actually read every single one of them. Amazing story, and it's not like when you think manga, you think like Pokemon or you think that type of anime, but not. It has very dark adult situations, so I'm digging the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
We got economics and comics. EVS Jim Morris. Your Jim Morrison is epic. Is that an insight?
I come on my show. I have a collection of crazy costumes and wigs, and sometimes I'll flip on the camera and I'll be. I had long black hair one day and sunglasses.
Brandon Wilson, one of our moderators here. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We love having you. So yeah, man, thanks for everyone who came through to check us out. Let me see if we got anything else here. Let's see. We got Logi B, $10 Australian. EVS, all smiles as he takes over the world. Yeah, man. So Ethan, I feel like you're the most loved and the most hated comic book creator of all time. How does that work? How is that possible?
I'm hated by people who don't know me.
Right.
And who have heard the worst things about it. You have to remember, 2 years ago, there was a campaign, a cancel culture campaign to paint me as a Nazi. I hate Nazis. I would hate me too.
Right.
I am not a Nazi. Quite obviously, I have 2 Jewish kids. And despise we have to say in 2020 we have to go, I hate Nazis, and it means something. It's like, let me just inform you, I too hate zombies, and I hate, and I'm not a bigot, except I maybe a little anti-feminist. I might be kind of sexist. I don't know. You have to watch my channel and decide that for yourself. But I'm not a racist. I'm not a homophobe. I'm none of these things. I might just not like feminists very much, but that's normal.
Sierra Whiskey, $2 super chat asking to show us that Sal PVC. That's the Salamandroid.
Yeah, go on to the CyberFrog Wrecked Planet page and then look at the updates. If you share that, you'll see what the PVCs look like. And the CyberFrog one is free. The Salamandroid one is going to be $25. Can you show it? Pull it up.
I'm trying to pull it up right now. Let me see. Share screen. I haven't been using the StreamYard in a while. So all right. So here we are. This is CyberFrog. This is Unforgotten Tales. This is Wrecked Planet.
There we go. Now scroll down and then hit that updates there. See that thing that says updates?
Oh, okay.
Click that. Scroll down. Check this out. You're going to love this. Look at them. These are the first toys that I'm making. That CyberFrog one on the top is the free PVC toy that everybody gets. Everybody gets one of those. I'm making 20,000 of those. And then the Salamandroid, he's got a bendy tail.
So they're posable.
No, they're not posable. They're PVCs.
Oh, okay.
They're little mini statues.
Oh, okay.
We're going to make the posable toys next. I'm one step at a time here, but they're going to be on a card like that. And
you were doing trading cards. I saw a couple of bonuses that you had. The trading cards. Are you still doing those?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So if you join my channel, I want to make sure that people get a little treat, physical perk, rather than just, they say, well, you can do exclusive live streams. I'm not doing any exclusive live streams. I do enough live streams.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me just give you a trading card instead.
But I like the trading card caught my eye because I grew up in the 90s, and that's what got me into comics was the trading card. So to see that kind of nod to that era, I thought that was cool, man.
Well, I mean, it's great. And this is the thing. I mean, again, it's customer service. It's customer appreciation. You want to know how to sell a comic book? Give somebody a free trading card. They're likely to buy the $25 comic book if they're collecting the trading cards too.
So I don't know if this guy's joking or not. I think this is one of your guys. $5 super chat. You just spoiled Blood Honey for me, a-hole. I'm canceling my executive box order.
Sorry. I didn't spoil Wreck Planet, though.
Let me just see if we got anything else here. So, okay, Josh Phelps, this is one of my guys asking, how can we get a copy of CyberFrog if the campaign is over? Like, are they?
We have an eBay store. Yeah, I've got an eBay store, and we're selling. And by the way, if you buy a copy of Blood Honey on my eBay store, you'll see it's $30. It's only $5 more than it was in the campaign. We ship it to you right away. And by the way, the other thing is, go check out the retail value or the resale value of CyberFrog. These books are going for $100 now. They're maintaining their value. They're in limited print runs. People are excited to get them. Don't miss out. Get a copy of Blood Honey from eBay, and then don't miss out on Wreck Planet, especially not the Honeycomb box, which is a subscription to the campaign. It gets you one of everything free, including the CyberFrog PVC and the Salamandroid PVC. You're going to get that for free too.
My guy Greg over at Valiant's not going to talk to me anymore. But Deadwood Dale's $2 super chat saying, "You draw me a Heather Antos Uncle E."
No, I'll draw you a Heather Swain. Heather Swain is CyberFrog's friend. I will not draw Heather Antos.
The drummer boy asking, have you talked to Jeff Johns? You probably get little congrats type of text messages and emails and stuff.
I saw Jeff Johns in New York City Comic Con and got a nice warm hug from him.
I bet, right? I mean, yeah. People that work with you know you personally. They got to be happy for you with the success you've been having.
No, they're mad at me.
Are they? Well, whoops. Economics and Comics, final super chat. Hey, appreciate all the support, man. $5 super chat. Great show, EBS. Great show. Let's see. Gem will watch Wally. What else?
Well, that movie speculated that everything was going to become Walmart.
Wally from Disney. Right.
Yeah, small businesses were going to die out, and that's true. But I think it's all going to be the internet, not Walmart.
Hazmat 280, $2 super chat. EBS, are you still being harassed by that squirrel?
Andrea, my wife, said today they're talking about this gosh darn squirrel that gets into my garbage and laughs at my cat through the window and strews garbage across my driveway. And I said I was going to kill that squirrel, and I've not figured out a way to kill the squirrel. I haven't. Andrea and I were sitting around going, "Have you seen that squirrel lately?" I said, "No." She said, "I think he might have left us alone." So, I mean, I don't want to kill a squirrel if I don't have to, but get out of my garbage can. He chewed a hole through my garbage can to have better access to my garbage. He chewed a hole.
See, my garbage cans, you have to buy them from the city. Those shits are expensive to replace.
Yeah. Well, I could ask them, but I'd be embarrassed. And by the way, the squirrel would just do the same thing.
Right, yeah. So I like Reese's comment because this channel, as you can see behind me, I'm a big omnibus collector. I love getting the entire run in one book, one sitting. Give me the whole run. And he's asking, when is the CyberFrog omnibus collecting old and new? Is that something that you would consider?
Well, I'm doing CyberFrog warts and all, the complete 90s omnibus. We're going to launch that next month. I just got a note. I've got to write up all the little text pages where I go, and this over here is I got to do that. But we're going to launch an omnibus. It's going to be 350 pages thick of all of the 90s stuff. And I'm going to find every scrap, like every ad, every house ad, everything that I can find and put it in there to make it as complete as humanly possible. And then I'm going to add another little book in there, a little booklet that's going to come in that sleeve that's going to be called Frogapalooza Zine. And it's going to have all of the horrible shit that I drew before CyberFrog got published. Like all of the early CyberFrog stuff that never saw print from before he got published. It should be very, very complete, exhaustive. And then we're going to do an omnibus when CyberFrog 1 through 4 of the current series are done. We've got Blood Honey, Wrecked Planet. The next book after that is Red Extermination. And then issue 4 is called The Green Supremacy. And once all those books are done, we'll compile them into an omnibus, complete with all of the ash cans, called CyberFrog Season 1.
Somebody was asking, surprisingly didn't know, but Ethan's YouTube is Comic Artist Pro Secrets. What is with that title? I'm sure you told the story before. What does that mean? Comic Artist Pro, which is what you are, but what's with the secrets?
So when I first started my channel, I wanted to have kind of a lurid title. I remember talking to Zach, your boy Zach, on formerly of Diversity in Comics, and I was trying to come up with a name for my channel. I didn't want it to just be Ethan Van Sciver. And my channel early on was going to be, I'm going to teach you how to do all the stuff that you need to do to be a comic book artist. But I'm also going to tell you all the secrets that went into making my comics. And I did that for about 3 or 4 months until I ran out of things to say on those subjects. And then I turned my focus on social justice warriors and Star Wars and in comics, and started to become a real commenter on what I think is a deadly crisis. And I mean, it is an existential crisis within the comic book industry. And my channel blew up.
Congratulations. What was it? 100 and how
32?
many? 132,000 subscribers. As somebody who does YouTube, it ain't easy. So you found your niche, you found what works, you found your crowd, and that's awesome. And they support your work, man. So I mean, you're living the dream. I definitely applaud you for that.
I'm being paid to promote my comics. You understand? I mean, most people have to pay to advertise their comics. I'm being paid to advertise my comics. It is unreal. ComicSgate is the perfect situation for marketing, promoting, your independent comics. And I've never seen anything like it. We can take people who have never done a comic book before and make them $150,000 on a campaign. And we've done it. We'll do it again. We'll do it all the time.
That's crazy, man. So we've been going an hour. Like I said, I don't want to take too much of your time. You're probably going to do a live on your channel today sometime too, no?
Nah, this is good enough. I'll get back to work. Let me show you what I'm drawing. Look at this.
All right, cool. And if anyone else has any questions, hit them in the chat before we bounce. Let me put this on you. Hold on. How do you?
Right, hold on a second.
Here we go. Yeah.
Look at this guy. He's like, oh my gosh, run, guys, look out behind. Oh no! And then look, his face swells up like that until he explodes all over Heather Swain. So it's like. It's honey, and she's going to be covered in honey and human guts.
So you still draw? It's all traditionally drawn.
Of course. I'm an old man. I'm a boomer in the best sense of the word. I love the tactile sense of just putting my hand to paper with the pen, the ink, and just putting on headphones and enjoying myself. I love my work. I love drawing comics. And my life right now is absolutely perfect. It's a great mixture of spending enough time with my family, spending plenty of time drawing, and interacting with fans and customers on YouTube. I couldn't be happier right now. I recommend this.
Ryan Blue Thunder's asking, Usagi Yojimbo, TMNT, CYBERFROG crossover Sunday. Do you have a good relationship with those guys?
I don't know them. I met the creator of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and said, "Hi, I've got a frog book," and he said, "That's nice." I mean, at some point, I am going. The guy's a big star. I mean, Kevin Eastman. At some point, I'm going to put up the cash to rent the Turtles because I would like the Turtles to appear in CyberFrog 4.
That makes sense.
So, yeah.
And what about Stan Sakai?
I've met him a couple of times and don't remember anything about him.
You said Eastman or Laird? I'm assuming Eastman.
Eastman, yeah. I haven't met Laird yet.
Peter doesn't go to cons and everything, I don't think, right?
Oh, not that I know of. I'd love to meet both of them. They're, obviously these guys are incredible. I hope they're billionaires. And you know what? I don't think they are. And fuck that. Excuse my language, but F that. Okay. F that they're not billionaires. They should be. I intend to become a billionaire with my frog.
All right, man. Hey, and I hope you get there, man. You're on your way. You're doing your thing. I definitely applaud that. So let's wrap it up. I appreciate everybody who came through and watched. I know we got a lot of new faces, a lot of old faces. I lost a lot of old faces. I got a lot of. You made me lose a lot of subscribers, Ethan, with this whole. You have Ethan on unsubscribe, but see, to me, I feel like, well, you were never supporting me to begin with. If that's the case, I mean, I'm going to interview whoever is creating comic books, and especially successful ones who are entrepreneurs and doing their own thing like that. So that's just crazy to me.
That is sad. I don't understand that. I can't relate to that, but that's part of the poison of the current comic book industry right now that we have to overcome.
Yeah, I wasn't digging that. So yeah, appreciate the mods holding it down. I'm sure you guys had a hell of a night. Everyone that's a subscriber, a member, everyone that's a viewer, we appreciate it. If you guys want to check out this channel, I usually do statue unboxings like this, daily content. I do read these omnibus, although I have a huge backlog, but read them, review them, and I still am reading weekly comics. There's still a lot of stuff that I enjoy, and there's some stuff I don't, but I still like to give it a shot anyway. But Ethan, I want to thank you so much for coming on, giving a guy like myself an opportunity to interview the CYBERFROG king himself. So
No, thank you. That. No, let me tell you something. It's very brave to have me on. I realize that I am a monster, and I appreciate the chance to talk, man. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome, man. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.